any ports you want. All right. Now, once you launch this, it automatically launches a scenario, your Kubernetes cluster. Where is it? All right. Now, we'll do a quick kubectl. Get nodes. It will launch another node also, node 1 in a moment. So just have to wait till it launches. All right. Now let's get back to those things. So you are running on 1.18 of Kubernetes. You see, it's a second node. Worker 1. All right. You will be working on these two. Now let's get back here. Now the first task I put in is to deploy the dashboard itself. Have you deployed it last time? You didn't, right? Okay. So what we are trying to do is there is a dashboard for Kubernetes that comes default. It will allow you to graphically visualize this whole stuff. It makes things easy, especially when you're trying to learn it. Now, everything command line, it's okay once you understood a little bit, but initially it really helps if you can visualize it graphically. All right. What I want you to do is, once you have this Kubernetes dashboard, I really want you to remember everything that you see on this dashboard, which means you browse through each link on that dashboard and do it multiple times. That dashboard will have everything that we talked about. All this is theory, you are listening, you understood it, but actually how it appears, you don't know unless you actually see it. All right. So once you finish task 1, I want you to take a couple of minutes, click on each one of them and try to see the content on the dashboard. Try to understand what we have discussed about that particular item. That's really important. All right. Now that's your first task. And after that, we actually get into nodes and everything. So what we are doing is, you'll wait for the cluster to ready. Now, this is cluster information. It will give you where the API is running, where the etcd is, what's the IP and other stuff, basic stuff. Then we are directly getting into pods. How do you launch a pod? How do you, scale it up? How do you scale it down? The replica sets, all that stuff. And how do you delete the pods? Those are the tasks related to pods. Then after pods, I moved into deployment. Now these tasks, I ordered it in the order of practical uses. All right. So you get a big picture of Kubernetes in the fastest way. Then once you got the big picture, you go deeper into these other areas as we move on. That's how we are going to structure this thing. Then you'll get into deployment, the next task. You will do deployment, couple of deployments. All right. And also there is a command here, watch. Watch is a command on Unix. It has nothing to do with Kubernetes. Watch is a command, means if you see here, they are saying watch every 0.5 seconds this command. It basically runs the command every 0.5 seconds. That's it. Watch is a Unix command, Linux latest command. Right. You can run watch on any command. Like ls-ltr, you can run watch-n any number of seconds, ls-ltr. So it keeps repeating ls-ltr again and again and again, so that you don't have to type in. All right. Then once you are done with the deployment, we are going ahead with the service. Okay. Oh yeah, this is a service. You are exposing that deployment as a service. In this case, because we have 2 nodes, we want to access the application using node port service. We are not doing any load balancer. There are only 2 ways you can access it. We can access it from outside. Either you have to have a node port or a load balancer. Cluster IP, it's not for us. It's for internal pods. All right. So here in this task, we are exposing a deployment as a node port type of service. All right. So that's once you have the service exposed, you should be able to access the service. You should be able to access the pods running. So what you are essentially trying to do is, you have a container, you deployed that container as a pod, you called it a deployment, and you are exposing that deployment as a service, and you are accessing the service. That's pretty much end to end of Kubernetes. That's what anybody would want to do in anything, any software, right? You're deploying an application, you're trying to access it. Very simple thing, right? So that's what you've done so far. Now, once that is done, normally you have two ways of handling or working with Kubernetes. One is imperative way, other one is declarative way. These are the common words again used. Imperative versus declarative. Declarative we know. All right. Now, if you have a YAML file, you declare everything over there. And you tell somebody like kubectl, whatever I have declared, do it. The reason for this, why this is popular is you can store these files, version these files, put it into GitHub, anybody can know it. Now, as compared to this, imperative is commands. Like kubectl get nodes, kubectl create deployment, kubectl create service. Now, once you have finished the commands, nobody knows what you have done. Whereas a declarative state, everybody knows, okay, this is what we have done by looking at it. So, declarative is more popular or a better practical way for software development compared to an imperative way. All right. So, what you have here is earlier you have done an imperative way of deployment. Another task I have given is a declarative, means you will be given a YAML file of deployment. You have to use that YAML file to create the deployment. Something like this. You will see a similar command like this. Let's guess it. kubectl create deployment something, deployment name using the pod something. This is how a deployment would look like approximately. All right, if you are running a command. Now, as opposed to imperative way, if you have a declarative way, you have the same thing, four things: API version, kind, metadata, spec. Perfect. So here under kind you will have deployment. Basically you have a YAML file. All right. Now what you will do is kubectl apply the file. Same thing. Instead of creating everything from command line, you are doing it using a file. And this file, you will usually put it into a version control kind of thing, so that anybody can see it, version it, everything. Now, initially, to learn quickly, you go ahead with imperative stuff so that you understand what you are doing. Because when you are running commands, you are actually thinking about it, how it actually works. Once you are a little comfortable with imperative, go ahead with your declarative stuff. Means everything you store it in a file and you simply apply it. Now, this is useful, especially when you have a large number of deployments or services, secrets, replica sets that you are creating. So you can't really keep track of all of them using commands. You put everything into a declarative format and then deploy it. Your Helm chart is basically a declarative way of deploying. Helm chart does the same thing. It has a bunch of YAML files. All right, so what I've given is, I've given a task to do that in a declarative way, the same deployment. Now these YAML files are already uploaded to the servers. Now in an ideal scenario, you will either get the YAML files from the developers or you have to create it on your own from Google. It's not that difficult, don't worry about it, all right? Now here, to make things easy, I think you already have installed the Visual Studio Code Editor, right? Now this is a much better way of handling YAML files. You can copy paste from here, run, do everything here and copy paste into a Unix system. That works perfectly well. I also want you to get used to this Visual Studio Code Editor. All right, you're going to need it much, and this has a very good Kubernetes support. Plugins are there. It will auto complete a lot of stuff. All right. There are some power tools for Kubernetes to make things easy, but I haven't included any of them yet. because you won't understand whether that's an addition thing or that's core. We are currently working completely on core, which means you have to actually type the command. Now, because this is a very clear document, you also will have a tendency to copy paste everything. It will still work. Don't do that. Type it. Actually type it. All right, that's, yeah, I think that's what. I've kept it simple. I want you to understand end-to-end thing. Once you understood the basic end-to-end thing, then we get deeper into each of those areas. All right? Any questions? Perfect. Now you also have this thing. Obviously, this is available 24/7, which means after you are done with today's workshop, I really want you to go back, sometime in the afternoon, just do a quick, revision or redo of this thing. Because if you are strong here, or if you are comfortable here, we can actually get deeper into these areas. If you are not comfortable with that, there's no point in actually worrying about the rest of things. We're only touching the surface. There's a lot more to it. But the foundation is strong, which means we can actually work on other areas. We have especially this part, the persistence volumes, volume climbs, storage classes. This is a really important area because most of the applications will require PVs. Every application will have data that needs to be permanently stored. So we'll be working on this one also. All right. So I'll stop it here so that you can actually work on it. Yes, no. Yeah.
Actually, admin staff was saying that our batch will end this Friday.
That's the plan. Yes.
But some of the topics are not like Jenkins.
We will do that. We'll cover everything. Don't worry. I'm the trainer. You are here. So as long as we are here, they'll have their things. They'll have their timeline. So the plan is to finish it. We'll see. Couple of extensions. You are okay with couple of extensions? Couple of days? I don't have problem. You don't have problem. That's fine.
After that, what will be the procedure?
For what?
After finishing the theory session, what we have to do?
After this batch,
Yes.
the idea is next tomorrow and day after tomorrow we finish the rest of the pending small things that we written on that day. One is Ansible is there, the Jenkins pipelines is there. We want to finish those minor left out parts, and we want to actually get into a real wonderful project. That's when you will understand why we are going through all this painful process of learning this thing. So what we want is we want Kubernetes on AWS. So we're going to set up a EKS cluster on EC2 instances. EC2, EC2. So you have AWS. EKS is the Kubernetes of AWS, Elastic Kubernetes Service. So what it does is it gives you the master node. It handles the master node, what we call control plane, and we can actually run our worker nodes here. So what we want to do is we want to set up this whole Kubernetes cluster and entire CI/CD pipeline we want to set it up. I'll give you the full architecture. So that will take a couple of days, or at least 3-4 days. You need to have complete explanation of the project, and then you have to start doing it step by step. So my guess is it will take at least 3 complete sessions. So we have another 2 days to handle these things. All right. Then another 3 days. So at least we need 5 days. And the last project days are going to be a little longer because I will be handling the whole project thing so that things are much smooth. So it will happen here, the project thing. I'll be here to handle it. Vasu probably, unless Vasu comes here, but he can't. So Friday, today is Tuesday, right? So we have 3 days more. Maybe we can do on Saturday also, if you guys are okay. What about Sunday? You can? Okay. We'll see. So Sunday, I'm not sure. Saturday, we will do it. And then Monday and Tuesday. So we'll have either 5 or 6 sessions. That should be fine. I'm here, you are here, so not a problem. We will clear everything, most of it. There's one thing that I wanted to ask. I have focused on practical things only. Everything that we talk here, I touch upon is practical. Means this is something that you either need it to work or you need it in interviews. And because we want to finish it within the time limit that we agreed upon, I could not really explain at a very basic level like you are kids. Now, is that okay, or you want that kind of explanation? Because I've seen some videos, some people, so they keep repeating too much, they explain too much. So what's that you want? You're okay with this flow, or you want slower, more relaxed pace?
Okay.
That's important because it may sound kind of comfortable if it is slow, but you're never going to finish whole DevOps, Kubernetes, AWS. Never, not even 3 months, 4 months. And this is a pace usually that I work with all the people who are working, they're okay with it. So that's the same thing that I'm trying to bring in here. So if I'm too fast or if some concepts are not clear, little fuzzy, let me know. We will discuss those specific concepts. These are not really that difficult things. It's just huge content. That's it. It's not difficult, especially when you are sitting here and trying to understand. It's not difficult, but it's huge, which means we have to do pure hard work, and we have to do it quickly. What's the general time you would like to give to learn the whole DevOps? Some of you are working, some of you are trying it for the first time. What's the general timeline you have put for yourself? I want to learn DevOps, cloud, and then I want to get a job. That's what we want, right? What's the timeline you have given for yourself? And you think you can do it in 3 months? After 1 month? We're almost 1 month, right? So you think you can do it? Okay, that's the same timeline everybody gives. Okay, and how many hours of practice you are planning on giving yourself during these 3 months? Every day, daily basis, average? Put a number to it. 3 months, how many hours per day?
5 to 6 hours.
Are you giving 5 to 6 hours? Not this session. This session will count as 3 hours, but
After
we are working a couple of hours. I think that's good enough. 5 hours a day, average, it's really good. You can actually get it. But as you know, these are all, we are still working on what it is. You are not really entering the area of practically how it looks like, right? So 1 month for this, yeah, it's good enough. Probably next month you may enter into something that is realistic or real time, what you call. This is all real time, but still theory and basic tasks. You still need some more depth to crack an interview and actually work in any basic environment also. So next 1 month probably you can get into deeper real time kind of things. Then probably the last 1 month you can focus on interviews. Now interviews is a whole different game. You don't have to know anything, still you can crack an interview. That's whole, the preparation for interview is completely different. So do not be confused that if I know everything, I'll crack an interview. That's a wrong comparison. You don't have to know everything. Out of all these things, how much you think you should know to crack an interview? You learn pretty much everything on Kubernetes. You won't realize it now, pretty much everything. Primitives, or let's put a percentage. How much percentage of this you think you need to know? 50%, that's it. 60% is more than enough because you will not be doing everything. Somebody, your senior will be there, somebody like me will be there. You don't really do everything over there. So focus on about 50%. Which 50%? And I'll tell you which 50% you have to focus on. You can crack a job. You can easily. Now, the market is really good. Nobody knows Kubernetes. Everybody wants Kubernetes. So this is the right time. Next 2 to 3 months is the right time to get into Kubernetes. After that, things get saturated. And things get saturated, interviews become difficult. All right. So make sure you don't lose the momentum because you guys have started early. Don't lose the momentum and go till the interviews. That's really important. It's not, don't stop at learning itself. Even if you haven't finished learning, upload your resume and see how things go. That's really important. All right. A resume is all those things, the basic things. I think we will give you. That's not a problem. All right. Anything else you want, we'll get. So this session probably 5 or 6 days will last. Next 3 days we'll still have theory. The last 3 days we'll have a good project.
Project will take how many days?
Which one?
Project.
3 days. 3 days. You can't really get a big, very big real-time project, but I still want to give you a feel of how a real project would look like. So 3 days is what is expected.
So after the 3 days, interview training will start.
I don't think we have interview training module in this thing.
Interview training program is there.
That's a different program.